So we're in early January on a rather nice day, which is unusual in this year of storms and wet weather we've seen in the Christmas period. And we're looking at one of the finest things you'll see in the garden today, which is Camellia vernalis dawn. This is a cross between Camellia japonica and Camellia sasanqua of great age, as I'll explain in a moment. This is a camellia which flowers around about Christmas time. It has double white flowers, which are quite variable. Some are more double than others. And when you smell it closely, there's a slight fragrance, rather a pleasant fragrance for a sunny January morning. When we look closely at the bush, we see that it is slightly variegated. Some of the newer growth is more variegated than the older growth. And how do we really explain that? I think it's probably some latent infection or something that has come out of the cross between these two Camellia species, which has produced vernalis dawn. Now we've got two plants here. This plant, which is maybe 5 or 6 feet high and probably the same across, has been cut down frequently in its lifetime, and it's therefore formed a dense bushy mound. But if we look across here, we see the other Camellia vernalis dawn, which hasn't been cut down at all, and it's probably up to good 15 feet with a similar sort of spread. Now, how old are these two Camellia vernalis dawn? And the giveaway is this Magnolia stellata in the middle between the two of them. And we have a planting record which proves that this Magnolia stellata was planted in 1897. One of the earliest magnolias probably grown at Caerhays. And if we look closely at this Magnolia stellata, we can see that the outer casings of the buds have already dropped. If we look more closely, we can see one there where there are still two casings to each flower bud. And when we look down here, we can see that the outer casing has dropped off, which means the plant is nearly ready to flower. In the garden diary, there is a clear record of this plant being in flower on Christmas Day in 1906. So think what you will of climate change. It clearly isn't out this year, but it clearly was in 1906. What does this mean for Camellia vernalis dawn? Well, it almost certainly means that these three plants were planted in 1897. So they really are very ancient and very original camellias, and possibly the only or earliest surviving plants of this particularly beautiful variety. It has very, very attractive dark purplish red new growth, and at this time of the year it really could brighten up your garden. We've been propagating this at Burncoose nurseries for quite some time. It hasn't proved to be terribly popular, and the purpose of this little video is really to persuade you what a wonderful plant this is and that everybody should be growing it. You've got to remember that we had frost only 3 weeks ago, and yes, it frosted off the very early flowers, but it hasn't made any difference to the overall bush, which is looking absolutely gorgeous today.